Oh, I like that one. I should call it now before someone else does. Pamain po, Eugenio shouts as he types furiously. Eugenio Mayon, the mayor of Albay and the father of the fair maiden, Carla Mayon, was currently using his phone and looking over each of the products being sold online. The mayor was obsessed with pieces of equipment and household items sculptured with high-quality materials. Ah, too fast, Eugenio says, defeated when one of the customers claimed the product before he could. Later that day, someone knocked on the door politely. Curious, Eugenio opens the door to find a thinly built man with a uniform that seemingly looks exactly that of the famous Lalamove delivery. What is this? Eugenio asks. Who brought this here? Paloma? Marvic Paloma Castello, Carla's suitor and the leader of a gang in Albay known as the El Pacto de Sangre, the Blood Compact, named after Juan Luna's artwork. The delivery man nodded. Yes, Mayor. He says your daughter might find this delightful. The courier responds. I see. Eugenio sighed and responded with a worried face. A few days later, a pool party was being hosted by Carla's friend in the private section of the resort, the hot springs. Carla is brisk walking around the hot spring when she tripped on a wet stone. Rushing to her aid is Cardo, Man Ricardo Talisay, a half-Canadian, half-Filipino, who is a CEO of a company that owns the famous The Nest Cafe. Cardo was immediately captivated by the innate beauty of Carla. Carla in turn fell in love with Cardo thanks to his natural charms and his heroic act. Love at first sight is actually real. Are you okay, miss? Cardo asks Carla shyly, and with a face that is bright red in embarrassment. Carla responds in a shaky tone. I'm okay. Looking up at the man before him, Carla asks for the name of her savior. Thank you, Mr. Carlo showed his toothy grin and held out his hand while saying, Man Ricardo. But you can just call me Cardo. Cardo swiftly responds. Carla took his hand and shook it softly. Both standing up, looked at each other in awe and glee, yet embarrassed at what happened. The two of them later returned to the party and spent the rest of the time there, enjoying, yet worried, as they may stumble upon each other again later on. One night, the maiden received a text from an unknown number. She scrunched her eyebrows and texted, Who's this? She waited for a few minutes when her phone went off and a new text message popped up on the screen. It's me, Cardo, with a smiley face. At the thought of seeing the noble one once again made her smile wildly. The rest of the week fell with a smile plastered on both Carla and Cardo's faces. On Friday, they decided to see each other again and agreed on the fact that they both harbored feelings for each other. They talked about how they would take their relationship to the next level, so they decided to start dating.
A few weeks had passed. Carla and Cardo started seeing each other, also known as dating. The two went to different places having fun. The two were standing in the fountain side of the mall thinking of where they want to go last before calling it a day. Say, Cardo, where do you think we should go? Carla asked. Where should we go? Cardo thinks to himself briefly before a spark of idea comes to him. Cardo mutters out of the blue, spooking Carla for a moment. Let's go to the movie theater, Cardo smugly responds. But what are we going to watch? As Carla asks that, Cardo loses the smug feeling and wonders immediately. The two overheard a group of friends talking about the newly released movie titled Andres Bonifacio as Wang Hunter. The two look at each other and shrug. Shall we? Carla asks. Well, they said it was great. Let's go, Cardo responds cheerfully. After a 1 hour and 46 minutes for Carla, the two went out of the cinemas. As they were about to start walking to the parking lot, Carla asked Cardo if they could take a picture together. Cardo agrees. Later, Carla was dropped home. As soon as she opened the door, her father greeted her with a slightly worrisome smile, which Carla immediately noticed. Father, are you worried about me? I'm sorry it took me some time to get home, Carla said. No, don't worry. I was just a bit... Yes, I was feeling lonely, Eugenio chuckled nervously. Carla, not even having to try or read her father tell that he was hiding something, though respecting her father's privacy, decided not to prey on his thoughts. Carla went to her room and started to get ready to sleep. Later, as she was about to turn off the lamp, she processed what happened earlier that day and smiled. Maybe it wouldn't hurt, Carla murmured. She then opened her cell phone and scrolled to Facebook when she thought about doing a My Day filled with the picture she took, along that is with the picture with Cardo. The night has passed by and unknowingly to Carla, Paloma sees the picture of her and Cardo together. Getting more furious the longer he looked at the picture, he threw his cell phone to the wall. Paloma, now mixed with anger and jealousy, tried to calm himself so he could think. How can I get Carla to marry me? He wonders. Paloma came up with something after a lengthy period of planning. But on second thought, how would he be able to pull it off with a swarm of bodyguards around Eugenio and his family in the first place? Paloma's idea is to abduct Eugenio, but how is he going to pull that off? He thought about having his men disguise themselves as Eugenio's bodyguard. When is he going to pull it off? He checked the news on the Albay local government page on Facebook and he learned that there will be a public speech held by Mayor Eugenio himself. Paloma smirked. I won't let this chance pass by. Only have the right to hold your daughter's hand in marriage. 4 hours later, Carla was beginning to get concerned. It had been 4 hours since his father left the event, and he has not yet returned home. Carla received an unusual call from an unregistered number a few moments later. Carla was the one who answered the phone. Hello? Who is this? Carla said while still worrying about her father's current situation. You don't have to know, but if you want to see your father alive, go to this address, the mystery man said.
In another place, a large venue was currently being occupied by hundreds of citizens. It was an open space. The heat of the sun radiated through their skin, and the feeling of hotness coursed through their body. Most of them were sweating like there's no tomorrow. Some of them were wearing soaked clothes, and it resembled much of drenched rats. Not that they looked like rats, of course. The sound of murmurings occupied the air as they waited for the arrival of Eugenio. Some were muttering assumptions about the mayor's public speech, and others were just conversing with their friends and families about the recent dramas in their respective lives. In a corner filled a small group of people who acted like overly devoted cheerleaders, with the way they held the posters and the way they grinned enthusiastically. It was definitely a sight for sore eyes for officials like Eugenio. The venue was sufficiently wide enough for hundreds of people. Lots of chairs were placed on the floor. A sturdy wooden table was placed in the middle of the stage with a microphone on the top. The head of the microphone was facing away from the mass and was intended for the mouth of the mayors only. Behind the wooden table lies a big and wide screen where the magnified view of the mayor will be displayed. A bunch of cameramen were adjusting the recording devices, and some were testing the sound quality of their gears. Suddenly, a large masculine figure who wore a black suit emerged from backstage. The latter was wearing round dark glasses and Bluetooth earphones. One can immediately conclude that it was one of the bodyguards ensuring the safety of the mayor. After the escort was satisfied with the scenario, he quickly signaled and ushered the mayor and bodyguards to come in front of the stage. Eugenio strode confidently across the stage with his chin held high, contrasted with the humble and beaming smile plastered on his face. He stepped closer to the podium while his eyes roamed around the crowd. Inch by inch, he leaned closer to the microphone and was about to speak when a hand pushed him aside. It was one of the bodyguards who stepped closer to the podium and examined the microphone. Once the bodyguard was certain that it was not harmful, the latter moved his head towards the mayor and signaled him to continue. The mayor smiled and thanked the bodyguard.
After 2 hours had passed, the speech was officially done and Eugenio went backstage along with his bodyguards. They were nearing the mayor's vehicle when a white van stopped in front of them. and men with big bulky muscles attacked the bodyguards, taking the mayor with them inside the car. The mayor tried his best to free himself from the grasp of the men. Much to his dismay, one of them hit his head with the hard metal, causing him to fall unconscious. The mayor woke up to a wide warehouse and a very familiar face who grinned deviously towards him. The very alarming figure leaned closer and whispered in his ear, "I can't wait for me and Carla's wedding. You'll definitely attend there, right?" The leader of the gang, Paloma, moved back and raised his eyebrows. Eugenio did not respond, and the man with mohawk hair grabbed a knife and slowly demonstrated how the mayor's demise would occur. Eugenio felt rage through his body and spitefully shouted towards Paloma. Outside, Carla and her other half, Cardo, were standing and waiting for his other men to arrive. The woman felt very anxious and had a bad feeling about the situation. The CEO saw this behavior and closed the gap between them with a hug. Both lovers held each other in a tight embrace as if it was their last. After waiting, Cardo's cohorts arrive and they head inside the warehouse to attack the gang and save the mayor. The gunshot can be heard everywhere in the warehouse. The blood is all over the floor and a lot of people died. While others were fighting, Cardo fought with Paloma. He punched him, which made Paloma bleed and felt weak. While two parties are fighting, Eugenio took this opportunity to escape and seek help.
Paloma showed his anger towards Cardo and Carla. "What does he have that I don't have?" Paloma shouted as he looked into Carla's eyes. "I have everything that you want. Why don't you choose me?" Paloma added. Carla raised her head and answered Paloma. "I don't like the way that you love me, Paloma. I don't see myself with you and I don't see my future with you," Carla answered, and Paloma doesn't seem to like Carla's answer. "I will not forgive you for what you did," Paloma shouted. He pointed the gun at Cardo. When Paloma was about to click his gun, Cardo immediately pulled Carla and dodged the bullet. They hid at the side of the wall so they don't get hit. "Stay here, Carla. I will come for you," Cardo said as he pulled out his gun and tried to shoot Paloma, but Paloma avoided and also started firing. They repeatedly dodged each other's bullet until Cardo hit Paloma in the shoulder and cornered him. "You can't escape me now," Cardo said as he pointed the gun at Paloma. "Looks like you got me there, huh?" Paloma smirked. "Anytime soon, the police will arrive and you cannot do anything about it. You will be in jail forever," Cardo shouted, and he tried to tie Paloma's arm, but Paloma used his other shoulder to take down Cardo. He took the gun from Cardo and kicked him on the chest, causing Cardo to lay down on the floor. The dark-haired man coughed with blood as the man with mohawk hair took out the magazine and examined it. He later inserted back inside the gun and pointed it at the CEO. "Do you think I'm too weak to be taken down easily? And what do you know? I only have one bullet left, which is perfect for a parasite like you who kept leeching on men and manipulating my precious little sweetheart," Paloma said as he slowly pulled the trigger. "Well, I will kill you and Carla and I will get married as you die." He laughed hysterically. "I will not let you do that," Cardo said in pain while clutching his racing heart. As he was almost getting shot by Paloma's gun, Carla ran from her position, and with all her strength and willpower, she did her best to block Cardo's view. Shock fills Cardo's feature as he sees the body of his lover stagger and fall to her knees. With one last look, his eyes lock on the weak figure, and he immediately becomes filled with rage. Paloma's pupil dilated at the scenario that happened before him. "It was not supposed to be like this," he muttered. "We were supposed to get married. I did not want anything for this too." Paloma then gripped his hair tightly as the vein of his head continued to show. "You!" The gangster used his finger towards the man and said, "This is all your fault."
In one swift motion, the leader of the gang kicked the CEO's figure, but missed when the latter jumps away from his position and stood up. They both clashed hands in hand. Nothing else was in Cardo's mind but to avenge his fallen lover. With all his might, he used his fists over and over to punch Paloma in hopes to wound him, not knowing the knife that the gangster was holding behind his back. With one swing, Cardo was stabbed in the stomach with Paloma's knife. Worry and grief went over Cardo's face as his eyes filled in tears. He did not realize he would not be able to avenge his lover and her sacrifice. He did not realize that even after her sacrifice, he would still be dead. He squeezed and coughed blood out as he fell to the floor, eyes set toward the lifeless body of Carla. He crawled and crawled until he reached her body, and he placed his hand over her arm and said, "I'm sorry I failed you. It wasn't supposed to end this way. We were supposed to have a happy life together. I'm sorry it ended like this. At least I'll die beside you. I will always love you even after death." He hugs her body as blood starts to pool around underneath them. Carla used all her strength to raise her shaking arm. She mustered up all her energy to show her appreciation and love for the CEO through her brown eyes. She cupped the face of the young man and whispered love confessions and promises. "I will love you always till eternity." Carla muttered and kissed him one last time. Eventually, life drained out of their body and they both faced their demise. The police later arrived at the scene. They captured and took the gang towards the police station. Eugenio filed a restraining order against Paloma, and after a few weeks had passed, they took the situation to the court. Paloma and his gang were judged guilty and were sentenced to the prison for 15 years.
A week after Eugenio recovered from what happened, and after the funeral of Carla and Cardo, Eugenio set his schedule for a public speech. He wants to tell the public what happened these past few days, and honor the hero that saved his life. The day of Eugenio's public speech. Good day to everyone. Thank you for your time. Today is a very important day for me. I am able to live and stand in front of you because of the bravery of these two people. My daughter and her boyfriend, who is also a CEO of the famous company here in our city. It is hard to wake up every day knowing that you get to live in exchange for their death. That's why, in memory and honor of my brave daughter, Carla Magayon, and Cardo Talisay, I would like to tell all of you that I will construct a building here. The mayor pointed his finger towards the vacant lot. I will name the building after their name. His face crumpled into a sad expression. Slowly, he took a deep breath and shakily said, I would like to apologize if there is someone of you who would like to object. The latter said while fixing his gaze towards the sympathetic facial features of the crowd. This will show my non-ending appreciation to both of them and will be the symbol of my life. That's all. Once again, thank you very much for your time. I hope you are all doing fine, healthy and great. Have a nice day to all of you.
Months have passed by and the Mayon building has garnered tons of visitors all over the world. It was crowned and hailed as one of the best and most beautiful tourist sites there exists on the planet. Families and friends visited the inside of the building where several pictures, arts, paintings, and biographies about the two prominent people were displayed. Ever since then, the Mayon building has been a part of every children's childhood, and it continues to astonish and awestruck millions of people. Though the reason for the construction of the building was tragic, the beauty and serenity the people felt while visiting the structure will forever be treasured.